Ladies and gentlemen, hard times are something we all experience. They arrive without invitation, disturb our comfort, and test our patience, courage, and faith. In such moments, many people give up, while a few rise stronger than before. One of the most powerful examples of thriving in hard times comes from the life of Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba. His journey reminds us that success is not born from ease, but from endurance, belief, and relentless effort. Jack Ma's life did not begin with privilege or advantage. He was not a top student, not good at mathematics, and not from a wealthy background. He failed his university entrance exams twice. Later, he was rejected from dozens of jobs, including a simple position at a fast food restaurant. Imagine the emotional weight of being told again and again that you are not good enough. For many, this would be the end of the story. For Jack Ma, it was only the beginning. Hard times enter our lives quietly or sometimes with great force, but they always carry a message. Most people see hardship as a punishment, something unfair, something to escape from as quickly as possible. Yet when we look closely at the life advice of Jack Ma, we discover a different perspective. He teaches us that hardship is not an enemy sent to destroy us, it is a teacher sent to prepare us. The way we respond to difficult times determines whether we break under pressure or rise with new strength. Jack Ma's early life was filled with obstacles that would discourage almost anyone. He struggled academically, especially in subjects that society often associates with intelligence and success. He failed important exams more than once, and every failure could have convinced him that he was not capable. But instead of seeing these moments as proof of his weakness, he treated them as lessons. Hardship forced him to understand himself better, to recognize where he needed effort rather than excuses. This mindset is crucial because hard times often expose our gaps, not to shame us but to guide us. When we face difficulty, our first instinct is often to complain or to ask, "Why me?" Jack Ma encourages us to ask a different question: what can this teach me? This shift in thinking transforms pain into purpose. Hard times teach patience when things do not move as fast as we want. They teach humility when success does not come easily. They teach resilience when giving up seems tempting. Without hardship, many of these qualities remain dormant within us, never fully developed. One of the most powerful lessons from Jack Ma is that comfort does not create growth. He believes that easy success often produces weak character, while struggle builds inner strength. In hard times, you are forced to think creatively, to work harder, and to push beyond your limits. Jack Ma did not become successful because life was kind to him. He became successful because he learned how to stand firm when life was unkind. This is why he often says that today is hard, tomorrow is harder, but the day after tomorrow is beautiful. Yet most people give up tomorrow night. Hardship also teaches discipline. When resources are limited and opportunities seem scarce, every decision matters. Jack Ma's early experiences of rejection taught him discipline in learning, in communication, and in leadership. Each no sharpened his determination. Many people wait for perfect conditions to act, but Jack Ma acted within imperfect conditions. He accepted hardship as part of the process, not a sign to stop. Another lesson hardship teaches is gratitude. When you have struggled, you appreciate success differently. Jack Ma understood the value of small wins because he had faced so many losses. Hard times strip away entitlement and replace it with appreciation. They remind us that nothing valuable comes easily, and that every step forward, no matter how small, deserves respect. This mindset keeps people grounded even after they achieve great success. Hard times also build emotional strength. Rejection, criticism, and failure can damage confidence if we allow them to define us. Jack Ma learned to separate his self-worth from external opinions. When people laughed at his ideas or doubted his vision, he did not internalize their disbelief. Instead, he used it as motivation. Hardship teaches us emotional control, the ability to remain calm and focused even when circumstances are against us. In accepting hardship as a teacher, we also learn responsibility. Jack Ma emphasizes that blaming society, luck, or others keeps us powerless. Hard times become meaningful only when we take responsibility for our response. We may not choose our difficulties, but we always choose our attitude. This sense of responsibility empowers us, turning victims into learners and learners into leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, hardship is unavoidable, but defeat is optional. Jack Ma's life shows us that when we accept hard times as teachers, they shape our character, sharpen our skills, and strengthen our spirit. Instead of fearing difficulty, we can welcome it as a classroom where the lessons are tough, but the rewards are lasting. In doing so, we do not merely survive hard times, we grow through them, wiser, stronger, and better prepared for the future. There comes a moment in every life when belief is tested, not by words but by silence. It is the silence after rejection, the silence after failure, the silence when no one seems to stand beside you. In these moments, believing in yourself when no one else does becomes not just important, but essential. Jack Ma's life is a powerful example of how self-belief can survive doubt, grow through hardship, and eventually change the course of a person's destiny. From a young age, Jack Ma was surrounded by reasons to doubt himself. He was not the best student in his class, he struggled with exams, and he failed repeatedly to meet the standards set by society. When he applied to universities, he was rejected more than once. Later, when he searched for work, he faced rejection after rejection. Out of many applicants for a simple job, he was the only one not selected. Imagine the weight of being singled out as not good enough. For most people, such experiences slowly erase confidence. For Jack Ma, they became a training ground for belief. Believing in you yourself does not mean ignoring reality or pretending you are perfect. Jack Ma never claimed to be the smartest person in the room. Instead, he believed in his ability to learn, to improve, and to persist. This kind of belief is deeper and stronger than talent. Talent can attract attention, but belief sustains effort. When the world tells you that you cannot succeed, self-belief becomes the inner voice that says, "I will try again." Hard times often isolate people. When success is visible, support is plentiful. When failure appears, support disappears. Jack Ma experienced this loneliness many times. When he first spoke about the internet and online business, people laughed at him. They could not see what he saw. In such moments, belief becomes a form of courage. It takes courage to stand alone, to move forward without applause, and to trust a vision that exists only in your mind. Jack Ma teaches us that confidence is built through action, not approval. Waiting for others to validate your dreams can keep you stuck forever. He moved forward despite doubt, not because doubt disappeared. Each small step he took strengthened his confidence. With every attempt, his belief became more grounded. Hard times are often long, and belief must be renewed daily. It is not a single decision, but a continuous choice. Another powerful lesson from Jack Ma is that self-belief must be protected. Negative opinions, criticism, and comparison can slowly weaken confidence if we allow them access to our minds. Jack Ma learned to listen selectively. He welcomed advice, but he did not absorb discouragement. He understood that not everyone who doubts you is against you. Sometimes they simply cannot imagine what you are trying to build. Belief means trusting your inner compass, even when the crowd moves in a different direction. Believing in yourself also requires patience. When progress is slow and results are invisible, belief is tested the most. Jack Ma worked for years without recognition or reward. Many people quit, not because they lack ability, but because they lose belief during the waiting period. Hard times stretch time and make effort feel heavy. Jack Ma's journey reminds us that belief must outlast discomfort. What takes time often builds depth and strength. Self-belief also influences how we respond to failure. Those who lack belief see failure as proof that they should stop. Those who believe see failure as evidence that they are trying. Jack Ma failed many times, but he never treated failure as a final judgment. Each failure refined his approach and strengthened his resolve. Belief turned setbacks into stepping stones. Perhaps the most inspiring aspect of Jack Ma's belief is that it was not selfish. He believed not only in himself, but in people. He trusted young minds, ordinary individuals, and small teams. This belief created loyalty and shared purpose. When you believe in yourself, you gain the capacity to believe in others, even during hard times. Ladies and gentlemen, believing in yourself when no one else does is not arrogance, it is survival. Jack Ma's life shows us that self-belief is the quiet strength that carries you through rejection, loneliness, and uncertainty. When the world closes its doors, belief gives you the courage to build your own. And in hard times, that belief can become the foundation upon which extraordinary success is built. Failure is often viewed as something to avoid, a mark of weakness or incompetence. Most people fear it, and many define themselves by it. But Jack Ma's life teaches us a profoundly different truth. Failure is not the end of the road, it is a guide, a teacher, and sometimes the most powerful tool for building lasting success. Learning to turn failure into feedback and direction is one of the greatest skills anyone can develop, especially during hard times. Jack Ma's early career was full of failures. He was rejected from every job he applied for, from fast food restaurants to prestigious companies. He faced repeated rejection in school and in his attempts to create a business. Imagine being laughed at, denied, or overlooked time and again. For many people, repeated failure would erode confidence, spark frustration, and even lead to giving up. For Jack Ma, however, these failures were not signals to stop, they were signals to learn. He treated each no and each setback as information, clues about what he needed to improve, what strategy to change, and how to adapt. One of the key lessons from Jack Ma's approach is that failure is not personal. Failing at a job interview or business venture does not define your worth. It only defines what did not work in that specific situation. Jack Ma experienced this firsthand. When he was rejected repeatedly, he refused to internalize the judgment as a statement about his abilities. He separated the outcome from his identity, understanding that failure was an event, not a label. This perspective is critical because it allows people to examine mistakes objectively, extract lessons, and move forward without being weighed down by shame or regret. Hard times are the moments when failure feels heaviest, but these moments are also the most instructive. Jack Ma often emphasizes that the world will be harsh, and setbacks are inevitable. Yet these setbacks contain lessons that comfort and success cannot teach. Failure shows gaps in knowledge, weaknesses in planning, and areas where preparation is insufficient. Without failure, these gaps might never be visible until it is too late. Jack Ma turned his failures into a roadmap for improvement, seeing each mistake as a step toward understanding what works and what does not. Turning failure into feedback requires reflection and humility. It demands that we examine our actions without defensiveness. Jack Ma consistently analyzed why things went wrong, not to assign blame externally but to understand internally. Every business idea, every strategy, and every personal effort was evaluated for lessons. This process allowed him to avoid repeating mistakes and to build stronger, more resilient approaches. Most people fear this level of honesty because it is uncomfortable, but Jack Ma embraced it, knowing that insight grows from discomfort. Another essential part of learning from failure is persistence. Feedback is only useful if we act on it. Jack Ma's career shows that failure without adjustment leads to repeated mistakes, but failure followed by action leads to mastery. When his early business attempts did not succeed, he tried again with new knowledge, refining his approach each time. He experimented, adjusted, and learned, understanding that success is rarely immediate and that failure is often a necessary step on the path to achievement. Failure also teaches creativity and flexibility. When one method does not work, it forces you to explore alternatives, to think differently, and to innovate. Jack Ma faced a world that doubted the potential of the internet in China during the 1990s. People laughed at the idea of e-commerce, calling it impossible or risky. Yet, he saw failure as an opportunity to innovate, to find solutions where others saw dead ends. Hard times challenge conventional thinking, and those who embrace failure as feedback can discover ideas and strategies that the cautious or fearful would never attempt. Importantly, Jack Ma's experience shows that failure can build character. Every rejection and every setback tested his patience, resilience, and determination. Hard times magnify our reactions to failure, revealing whether we give up or keep moving forward. By facing failure repeatedly and choosing to continue, Jack Ma strengthened not just his business skills but also his mindset, creating the mental endurance required to lead a company that would grow into a global giant. Jack Ma also highlights that failure is temporary, not permanent. It does not define your future, it shapes it. By learning from failures, he was able to create strategies that eventually led to massive success. What seems like a setback today can become the foundation for achievement tomorrow if approached with the right mindset. People often fear failure because they confuse it with finality. Jack Ma teaches us to see failure as a tool for insight, not as a sentence of defeat. Failure is inevitable, but how we respond to it determines our destiny. Jack Ma's life teaches that failure is a teacher disguised in difficulty, a signal guiding us towards smarter decisions, deeper knowledge, and stronger perseverance. When we turn failure into feedback and direction, we no longer fear mistakes, we welcome them as opportunities to grow. Hard times and failures are not barriers, they are stepping stones, and those who learn to step wisely can reach heights that seem impossible at first glance. Through his life, Jack Ma shows us that the courage to face failure, to examine it honestly, and to use it constructively is one of the most powerful forces for personal and professional growth. Failure is not the enemy, stagnation is. By learning to treat failure as feedback, we transform our hardest moments into the very foundation of lasting success. In life, it is easy to become trapped in the immediacy of hardship, to focus on the pain of today, the struggles of this week, or the obstacles of this month. Yet Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, teaches us a lesson that is simple in words but profound in practice. Thriving in hard times requires a focus on long-term vision rather than short-term pain. Many people fail not because they lack talent, knowledge, or opportunity, but because they allow temporary difficulties to cloud the possibilities of the future. Understanding and embracing this principle can transform how we navigate challenges and setbacks. Jack Ma's journey was far from smooth. In the early stages of his career, he faced repeated rejection, lack of financial support, and widespread skepticism. When he first introduced the idea of an online marketplace, people laughed and doubted its feasibility. They could not imagine a world where the internet would become central to business and daily life, and they certainly could not see Jack Ma as the person who would lead such a revolution. Yet, he remained steadfast because he was guided not by immediate outcomes, but by a vision of what could be achieved in the long term. This is the critical lesson. Short-term difficulties are temporary, but a clear vision can carry you through years of struggle. When we encounter hard times, it is natural to focus on immediate discomfort. The human brain is wired to respond to pain and threat in the present moment, which is why setbacks feel so heavy. But Jack Ma's success illustrates that those who can step back from temporary pain and focus on the larger picture develop resilience and strategic insight. He did not expect quick returns from Alibaba or any of his early ventures. He understood that building something meaningful required patience, persistence, and the ability to see beyond the immediate obstacles. Long-term vision is a form of mental clarity that allows people to navigate chaos without losing their direction. Focusing on the long term also changes how we perceive failure. Jack Ma failed many times, but he never allowed failure to define his potential. Each setback was viewed as a small detour rather than a permanent barrier. This mindset is essential during difficult times. Without a long-term perspective, a failure can feel like the end of the world, leading to discouragement or surrender. With a long-term perspective, failure becomes a natural part of the journey, a lesson to be absorbed and applied, and a step forward toward eventual success. Long-term vision requires patience, and patience is one of the hardest virtues to develop in times of hardship. Jack Ma's philosophy emphasizes that meaningful achievements are rarely immediate. He encourages people to invest time in learning, in building relationships, and in understanding the market. He often points out that life before age 35 is primarily for preparation rather than immediate reward. This approach means that even when life feels frustratingly slow, each effort contributes to a foundation that will support greater achievements in the future. People who lack this perspective often quit early, frustrated by temporary obstacles and unaware of the long-term potential that persistence can unlock. Vision also allows us to remain motivated when others doubt us. Jack Ma faced criticism, skepticism, and laughter from peers, investors, and society at large. Many people gave up simply because those around them could not understand or support their ideas. Yet, his focus on a long-term goal allowed him to keep moving forward, regardless of external validation. Long-term vision acts as an anchor in turbulent times, reminding us that today's struggles are a small part of a larger journey. It provides direction, sustains motivation, and reduces the impact of short-term discouragement. Another aspect of long-term vision is strategic thinking. Jack Ma was not merely reacting to circumstances, he was planning years ahead, anticipating trends, and building systems that would support future growth. Hard times often pressure people to make quick, short-sighted decisions, which may provide temporary relief but harm long-term potential. By focusing on the bigger picture, Jack Ma made decisions that sometimes seemed slow or even illogical to others at the time, but which laid the foundation for the extraordinary growth of Alibaba. Long-term vision requires courage, the courage to delay gratification, the courage to invest in ideas that may not yield immediate results, and the courage to maintain commitment when progress is not visible. Finally, long-term vision transforms the meaning of hard times. Instead of seeing hardship as punishment, Jack Ma saw it as part of a journey toward a greater goal. Each challenge, rejection, and obstacle was integrated into a larger narrative of growth and achievement. Hard times became temporary tests, not permanent roadblocks. This mindset allows people to thrive not by avoiding difficulty, but by understanding its place in the broader journey. When you focus on the long term, every struggle becomes an opportunity to prepare, learn, and strengthen yourself for what is ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, thriving in hard times is not about escaping pain, it is about orienting yourself toward the future. Jack Ma's life demonstrates that short-term difficulties are fleeting, but a clear vision can carry us through years of challenges, failures, and rejection. By focusing on what is truly important, committing to long-term growth, and maintaining patience and resilience, we can navigate hardships not as victims but as architects of our future. Hard times are inevitable, but they are never permanent. The vision we hold for the long term determines how we emerge from them, stronger, wiser, and more capable than ever before.